I wanted to first ask you, Jim, about, you were talking a little bit, obviously, about the reality in the West Bank and Gaza, which is undeniably getting worse every day. Talk a little bit about, to people here, if you could, about, A, what ActionAid itself is doing, and how that ties into what some people here might not be aware, which is, in the last while, Israel is increasingly, really, in essence, blocking the possibility of aid organisations to work in the West Bank and Gaza with ridiculously onerous restrictions, leading to some organisations having no choice but to leave or essentially depart the field. Talk a little bit about that, if you could, about what that means practically in the West Bank and also Gaza.
I think it would be very important for us to note that we're quite used to respond to crises and to respond to conflict, but we never realized that we will be dealing with a crisis at this scale. All of us as a community of international organizations, including ActionAid, the scale of devastation and destruction is unprecedented. And it became clear for us from day one that this is something that we probably need to consider everything we've used to do before. The response itself, at that point, became clear that it's a commitment. It's a commitment from international organizations because as you said, Israel made it impossible for organizations to operate. And I will be explaining a little bit of what was happening. Access is one of the issues we have faced as international organizations. It became clear that Israel wanted to use access as another way to further deepening the humanitarian suffering in Gaza. So by denying access of medical supplies, denying access of food, fuel, and everything else. And even up until this moment, Anthony, with the ceasefire in place, they're still banning coloring books, pencils, cooking pots. These are still items that are banned to be transported into Gaza. Of course, in addition to medical supplies, medical equipment, and fuel, that is still being very much limited amounts that are barely enough to run a few operations. So hospitals, other critical facilities could not operate. Now, how did we do our response as ActionAid? I think it was an opportunity for us to build on the capacity that we have built locally. So working with local partners was a critical element of our response. In the early days of the response, most of the international organizations who have deployed international staff into Gaza have left, or at least moved to somewhere else in Gaza, trying to find a safer space. Who was left in the field are the local organizations who have led and were in the forefront of the response in Gaza. And we as ActionAid, we continued our commitment to our localization approach, which deeply depends on the capacity and the investment of resources to the local partners to lead the response, to be closer to the people, to be closer to the needs, because in Gaza, people were on the move every day, and the needs have shifted. So therefore, I think it was very important for us to continue to provide that capacity and to channel the resources that we have as ActionAid to our local partners, because they were there, they were in the field. And they were responding with food supplies, they were responding with hygiene items, they were responding with medical supplies, and they were responding with protection activities, providing safe spaces for women, providing safe spaces for children, and providing counseling services and psychosocial support to the people. Of course, we acknowledge all the challenges that were there. So it was not an easy delivery of service. Every day we had to take decisions on daily basis in terms of what is the priority now, where do we work, where is the next movement of displaced people is going to be. And therefore our local partners continued to be leading the support, and we continued to provide everything we could as ActionAid. And we have also worked hard with one of our international partners to establish a humanitarian corridor through Egypt, where we positioned some of the humanitarian assistance like hygiene items and dignity kits for women, in particular in Egypt. Despite all the challenges, we have managed to transport about 15 trucks of that particular type of aid into Gaza. and get it to our local partners to be distributed to the people in the different shelters in Gaza. And we continue to have that commitment. So I think it's very important that to note that in the context of Palestine, the easiest thing is to get frustrated, because challenges are immense, and they keep coming. They just keep coming. And therefore, we made a commitment that we will stay and serve, no matter what the challenges are. We need to adjust our ways of working. That is something for us to do. We need to adjust our financial resources, adjust our systems, adjust how do we work with our local partners. It doesn't matter. It's about the commitment is to stay and serve.